Um, I'm a little frustrated because I heard a lot about love. And one thing that I know is it's not because of the lack of love that we're not able to feed our children. It's not because of the lack of love that we are able to house people. It's not the lack of love that we are unable to save people from dying because they don't have health care. The other thing that frustrates me is people who have experienced poverty, who have gotten the straps for their bootstraps.
There's a moment when the room goes quiet, not because the truth was silenced, but because it made people uncomfortable. That's what just happened. Ilhan Omar wasn't confronting corruption or fighting for justice. She was lashing out at a pastor who dared to succeed without government permission. Pastor La Tasha Fields didn't read about hardship. She lived it. She rose from a place where excuses were common and opportunity was rare, and she still chose discipline, faith, and family over dependency. That story should inspire every American. Instead, it infuriated Omar, and that's the tell. Washington doesn't fear failure. It fears independence. It fears the individual who proves that personal responsibility still works. Because when one woman breaks the narrative, the whole illusion of victimhood starts to crumble. This isn't a battle between two politicians. It's a reflection of two moral compasses. One points to liberty, effort, and faith. The other spins endlessly toward grievance and control. Pastor Fields didn't ask for sympathy, she showed strength. And that, more than anything, is what shook the establishment. In a world of noise, we stand for liberty and constitutional principles. If you're tired of the mainstream narrative and want unfiltered truth, subscribe now to join our growing movement of free thinkers who still believe in facts over feelings.
La Tasha Fields. I am the founder of Christian Home Educator Support System in Chicago, Illinois. I want to thank Chairman Yumuth for having me, the Ranking Member Womack, and members of Congress. It's a blessing to be here today. I have been married to Ronald Fields II for 13 and a half years. We are home educators of 4 wonderful children. I have 2 girls, 22 and 3, and 2 boys, 12 and 9. My husband and I are both born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I spent 33 years there before I came to move to Chicago, Illinois, 7.5 years ago to expand our evangelistic work. We serve as the overseers and pastors of our Report Ministries and Publication in Chicago. I am also the founder of Christian Home Educator, which is a homeschool academy, and Christian Home Support System, which is our support group. These are evangelistic outreach ministries to serve and support the families of the city of Chicago and surrounding communities. We provide assistance, resources about home education, cooperative educational and recreational resources, curriculum and parental rights issues, and much more. Our mission is to empower parents to take back the responsibility of educating their children. I am also the state coordinator of parentalrights.org, a volunteer of Junior Achievement of Chicago, and a member of Cure Clergy Network. I also have over 19 years of entrepreneur experience, with 14 of those years being consecrated in the real estate industry and several certifications in property management and nonprofit housing. I am also a recent graduate of Trinity Christian College in Palo Heights, Illinois, with a bachelor's degree in business administration with a 4.0 GPA. So let me tell you a little bit about my journey, which is nothing short of the grace of God towards me. My grandmother, who raised me, also raised 9 kids of her own, was a homeowner living in a poor Black drug-infested community in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She raised me and my younger sister. My mom was a teenage mom on drugs, in and out of prison. My grandmother was a strong woman, hardworking woman. She showed tough love and had amazing independent work ethics. So I basically grew up in the typical Black stigma community surrounding me: the lack of motivation for education, promiscuous behavior, drugs, crime, and some on welfare. In spite of the circumstances that surrounded my childhood, I was one that often fought against the odds. I had a love for education. I never did drugs and I never committed a crime. But however, I did fall into promiscuous behavior, and at the age of 17, I became a teenage mom. This was the turning point of my life. I will never forget the day that I found that I was pregnant. I went into a Planned Parenthood in my neighborhood. I was devastated, I was frightened, and I was scared, because I was one of those kids that excelled in school, was popular in school, played sports, was on the homecoming court. You name it, I was in it. So basically, I kept myself from the normalized behaviors that plague the Black community. So becoming pregnant was embarrassing to me. I didn't want to be like the rest. I had always strived to be better. I didn't want to be like the social norm. I didn't want to be another statistic. I didn't want to be the 72% of moms raising a child single. So while waiting for the results of my pregnancy test, I was crying and I was thinking how I had ruined my life. The nurse came back in the room and she told me that I was 3 weeks pregnant, and she consoled me that I had another choice. I had a choice to abort my baby. In that very moment, my life flashed before my eyes because I had a big decision to make. Do I get rid of my baby and proceed as normal, as though nothing happened, and go back to my family and friends and continue to live out my life? Or do I live the rest of my life knowing I had killed my baby? Do I keep my baby and face the challenges that lie ahead of me and press past the shame, the regret, and the disappointment? I chose the latter. I chose to do what I will always hear my grandmother say: you make your bed hard, you lie in it. Those words rang loud and clear in my heart and mind. Yes, we did this. No one else is responsible for the choice we made. I must take responsibility for my actions and live with it. Live the best possible life I can, give my child the best possible life I can, finish high school, go to college, and make something of myself. I decided, in spite of my teenage pregnancy, that I would continue to press past the popularized social norms of the Black community. I worked hard. I graduated from high school 5 months pregnant. During my teenage years, I worked at Burger King. I was a part of an entrepreneurial program that we had. I worked there throughout my high school years, from 15 till I graduated. But I was a mom, so I had to continue working at Burger King to provide for myself and my baby. I lived with my grandmother for several months after I had her, and she encouraged me to get on food stamps, to receive WIC, and to receive child care assistance. During this time, she also helped me to get my first apartment. After about 9 months of renting, the real estate company asked me did I want to buy a house. I was shocked. I was excited. I went through the first-time home buyers program, and I purchased a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house at 18 years old. After 2 years of being on food stamps, I found myself increasingly growing to hate the program. I felt awful while I was on the program. It was such a level of disrespect and deprivation. I couldn't take it any longer. I removed myself from the food stamp program. But however, due to me working and going to college, I had to remain on child care assistance. After having my baby in 1996, buying my home in 1997, the same real estate company offered me a job. I became a secretary, later a rental assistant manager, and later in December 2005, I became a licensed real estate agent. However, from 1996 to early 2005, I was a single mom, working hard, working 2 jobs sometimes, going to college and maintaining honors. By November 2004, I gave my life to Christ, met my husband, we got married October 2005. After becoming a Christian, I became an ordained minister. My faith began to challenge and propel me to work for families and kids and tackle the problems that plague the Black communities. I lived it, and I wanted to reverse the plague. I had begun and purposed in my heart that I would become that change and advocate for my family and friends. In 2006, I felt compelled by God to take more responsibility for my daughter's education. I took her out of the public education in the 4th grade, and I wanted to give her a Christian education by homeschooling her. So we did. My husband and I did not know what that would entail, but we obeyed God. Later, in 2007, we opened up a Christian homeschool academy as an extension of our evangelistic work. My husband and I are now homeowners in Chicago, Illinois for the last 3 years. My husband is the owner of his own barbershop in the South Shore community in Chicago for the last 5 years, and we are continuing our ministerial work with our Christian school and our co-op group to support the families in the city of Chicago.
Pastor Fields, if you could wrap it up, your time is considerably over, so
it
you
is.
can wrap it up. You can make a concluding statement.
Oh, wrap it up, okay. And one more point, that we graduated our oldest daughter, she's 22, from being homeschooled all the way to 12th grade. We graduated her from our homeschool academy, and now she just walked across the stage from the University of Bridgeport with a degree in nutritional science with a 3.1 GPA from being homeschooled. Thank you.
Are there examples of successful anti-poverty programs that you have been a part of that address these problems for youth?
Thank you, Member Flores. Yeah, and that's, I'm hearing everybody testify as well over the same thing, and I'm finding it hard to understand why, when the word is said hard work, why is that interpreted in a different way? I realize all of us sitting here, everyone in this room has worked hard to some extent. But what we're saying is, and I believe you all would agree, that even where you all sit as representative, Congress, and senators, you did not do it by not working hard. And so we just need to understand what that word means. We're saying that you have to persevere, you have to endeavor. And for me, I grew up in the same environments that everyone sitting here is testifying about. Again, my mother was on drugs, in and out of prison. My grandmother did not have federal aid. My grandmother bought a house in 1972 working as a janitor at Louisiana State University. So before the civil rights, there was no federal aid. There was no welfare and food stamp. So I'm sorry if I come from an environment where I have seen that you do not have to rely on government. You can work hard and persevere no matter how long it takes, and that's what I did. I got the food stamps for a couple years, so I'm not here to say totally dissolve it. People do need help, but what I'm here to say, and especially working in the real estate industry, it doesn't have to be perpetual. You know, you got families that pass Section 8 and welfare down like it's an inheritance. The Bible says we ought to lay up an inheritance for our children, sure, and it's not government entitlement.
When you said you homeschooled your kids, and I want to understand what values you teach them.
Oh, I definitely teach them personal responsibility. And even to add to that, what you were saying about trade, me and my husband both, even though I have a bachelor's degree, I also have a trade. My husband is a barber, he has a trade. We have lived the life they're saying with the living wages. I bought a house making $4.25 an hour. So we understand living on wages, but the way we got out of poverty is what you're saying, is we got trade, we went and got an education. And me and my husband talk about that all the time. If the government could make trade more accessible, you know, spend those federal dollars so people can sharpen their skills and get out. My husband just bought us a 3-bedroom home, 2 full bath home in Chicago, being a barber with a trade. He has a 10th grade education, and he did it with a trade skill. So those are the kind of programs that we should be advocating for our government, to sharpen our skills, bring back those trade skills into the Black community so that we can rise above poverty. We can't do it with just a high school education all the time. We need trade, we need skills.
Here's what makes Pastor La Tasha Fields' story so powerful. It dismantles an entire ideology without ever raising its voice. She didn't need slogans or pity. She needed grit, discipline, and the quiet conviction that life doesn't owe you anything. From a drug-ridden neighborhood, a broken home, and teenage motherhood, she did what the political class says can't be done. She took responsibility. She didn't curse the system. She worked within it, then rose above it. She used temporary help when she had to. But she never built her life around it, and that's the difference. Her grandmother didn't raise her to wait for deliverance from Washington. She raised her to stand tall, to work, to own her mistakes and her future. That's how a young mother goes from a Burger King job to buying her first home at 18. That's how she turns hardship into testimony. And yet, when she tells this story before Congress, Ilhan Omar's response isn't admiration, it's contempt. She scoffs at faith, sneers at perseverance, and calls prayer naive. But here's the irony. The very faith Omar mocks is what rebuilt that woman's life. When someone's faith threatens your politics, maybe it's your politics that need rethinking. You could see it in her tone. Ilhan Omar wasn't asking a question. She was setting a trap. Pastor La Tasha Fields spoke openly about faith, discipline, and the dignity of earning your way forward. Omar's reply? To twist that story into a contradiction. She tries to turn one brief moment of assistance into proof that self-reliance doesn't exist, but that's the flaw in her logic. Help isn't the same as dependence. Pastor Fields never rejected the idea of support. She rejected the idea of staying stuck in it. She believed in using the latter, not living on it. That's what responsibility looks like. Recognizing when grace gives you a hand and having the courage to climb. Yet Omar reduces that to hypocrisy because her worldview can't comprehend growth without government. And then she lectures about radical love while mocking the very faith that gave another woman strength to rebuild her life. That's not love. That's superiority disguised as compassion. From her seat in Congress, Omar can't grasp what that story represents. To her, success without government blessing is an act of defiance. To the rest of us, it's proof that faith and perseverance still work. Pastor Fields didn't deny others help. She just showed there's a better way to rise. And for some people in power, that truth is unforgivable. What makes Pastor La Tasha Fields remarkable isn't just that she built a better life. It's that she turned her success into service. She didn't stop once she got out. She went back, built a homeschool network, and created a support system so others could rise too. That's what real leadership looks like. Not speeches, not subsidies, but example. Meanwhile, Ilhan Omar keeps selling the same old dependency disguised as compassion. More programs, more promises, more reasons to believe you can't make it without the state. But Pastor Fields stands there as living proof that you can. Her life exposes the weakness in that narrative, that people are prisoners of circumstance. She shattered it. This is the American divide no headline can fully capture. One side believes in personal power, family, and faith. The other in systems, victimhood, and endless control. Pastor Fields represents a freedom that terrifies Washington. The kind that can't be taxed, measured, or politically managed. Her story doesn't just challenge Ilhan Omar's worldview, it dismantles it. Because when one woman from nothing builds something real, it proves the American dream isn't a myth, it's a mirror. And for those invested in victimhood, that reflection is unbearable.